Means that Mr. Carney believes that we should never use it.
Discussing the charter.
And the Ford case made it clear. The Constitution
One sec, everyone.
says how it should be used, but never how.
This is in Canada.
We'll do with it because it's the prerogative.
These clowns are talking about the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms, which is toilet paper.
The Supreme Court.
We're going to talk about that in a moment.
Another judgment.
And hello, everybody.
Because you don't like it, because that would be being the hell of a politician as you define them.
Look at Carney. Looks like he's ready to go to sleep. Carbon tax Carney, right? They call him. These guys are an absolute disgrace, in my opinion, everybody. Although I want to meet Poilievre one day. I think we can keep him a lot more honest than we can these other actual clowns. And, you know, there's a lot of, I don't care what anybody says, whether you like Poilievre or not. He's got a lot of good people under him, some strong women as well that support workers big time, that are women of intellectual integrity and honesty. And there's some good dudes in the Conservatives too. But now here's Jagmeet Singh. What a joke.
But we also need to keep communities safe. And that's what my focus is.
Yeah, community safe, my ass.
Much of the violent crime.
I want to press pause for a second, everyone. You know what this clown said yesterday? And by the way, everyone, before I forget, you could check me out on YouTube at Jason Truth. That's one of my channels there. I got a crime channel. I might link that in the description. I'm also on Facebook. Of course, you can find me at Jason Estey, E-S-T-E-Y. Of course, I was a public speaker during COVID-19. Those of you that may not know me. And I was honored to do it. I did it in my city of Hamilton. I did it in Toronto, Ottawa, etc. So anyway, this idiot, in my opinion, he's a complete clown. I'm not going to use harsher language than that. But anyway, this clown said yesterday, completely lied to you. Absolute evil. He said that he blamed the forest fires in British Columbia, BC, beautiful BC, where I used to live. He blamed the forest fires, saying that global climate change, caused the forest fires. That's literally what he said. And then he had the nerve, the audacity, to bring up our precious children. And he wants to protect our children, and that they can't breathe because of the forest fires, and probably means pollution too. I don't know. But he kept going on about the forest fires in BC, when anybody that has any half a brain and uses reason, logic, common sense, and the actual fact of the matter is, no, global climate change is not responsible for any forest fires or in BC. It's poor forestry management. It's arsonists. It's lightning. That's a fact, everyone. But this idiot, because he supports the Liberals, remember, his talking point, particularly on these forest fires, is the same thing that Justin Trudeau and his cabinet have been saying for the last couple years, right? That, global climate change is causing more forest fires and flooding. Global climate change, it's all horseshit, everyone. The global climate change is proven to be a huge racket. I've talked about this. This is why I get so riled up. The elites have a massive payday coming in 2030 from the carbon tax scam. Yes. Remember, everyone, the Paris Accords was formed in 2015. I'll briefly tell you. The front of it is an organization called the IPCC. Many of you may know it, International Panel of Climate Change, right? So the United States paid $100 billion for the Green Deal. Now, how do you get all the other countries on board to the Green Deal? Because they didn't want to be a part of it, right? They don't want to have to pay to pollute. Well, that $100 billion, as Dr. Shiva shows you, gets slushed to all these other countries. Yes. And all the influencers of all other countries, including the United States. So China and all these other countries, we know they get to pollute, but they pay carbon tax credits. And those will be sold on the global commodities market. And guess what? It will allow the IPC, this one organization, basically made up of a bunch of fraudulent scientists, right? Trying to con you about the global climate change nonsense. It will allow that one organization to make, as Dr. Shiva tells you, not billions of dollars, trillions. And that's what this is all about, everybody. It is a scam. Okay? We know our climate changes, but not the way the government says. And particularly forest fires and again, everybody, if the government really cared about forest fires, and my buddy Dr. Shiva has talked about it, my friends, the great Dr. Shiva, check him out. He's on Facebook and YouTube. He ran for president of the United States, by the way, as an independent, and he supports my powerful country of Canada, us Canadians. He's done great work. But Dr. Shiva shows you, everyone, and I agree with him, if the government really cared, there should be a heavy penalty for arsonists when they catch them, right? But there isn't, everyone, because the government is profiting from the forest fires. Just like Dr. Shiva says, everyone, they love forest fires because they want the naive people out there. They want them to think, oh my God, it's like what Jagmeet Singh is saying and Justin Trudeau. Oh, it's global climate change causing all these forest fires. I'll be happy to pay the carbon tax, right? That's exactly what it's all about, everyone. So please don't buy into that horse shit. Excuse my language. Now, let's go on here, everyone. These idiots were talking about the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms. They should be telling you that the charter is toilet paper. And that's, again, more great news in Canada, everyone. During COVID, some of us amazing activists out there, we've opened the cat. The cat is out of the bag, I should say, right? We have woken up millions of people now to understand the charter is a communist-friendly document. That's right, everyone. All you have to do is look at Section 1. It allows, if the charter, as we say, and I said this in my speeches, it has no power unless you invoke it. But if you invoke the charter, you got to appear before a judge, right, who's appointed by the government, paid by the government, and answers to the swamp. But the Canadian Bill of Rights, which I've gone over this amazing, miraculous piece of legislation many times in my speeches and videos, everyone. And you could check out Jane Scarf's work. Jane Scarf is an amazing, true activist. She's an amazing person and woman. And she's done awesome work on the Canadian Bill of Rights, everyone, and showing you the difference between the Charter and the Canadian Bill of Rights, okay? The Canadian Bill of Rights shows that you actually might get an impartial jury, okay? And unlike the Charter, the Canadian Bill of Rights specifies that your human rights are already protected. And it says human rights. Guess what, everyone? The Charter doesn't even say human rights. That's right. The Charter doesn't even, it just says your rights are guaranteed. And we know a guarantee is not absolute, right? Doesn't come from God. But the Canadian Bill of Rights, and it's on my t-shirt that I wear during my speeches, everyone, which says, it's an act for the recognition and protection for human rights and fundamental freedoms. So the point is, everybody, with the Canadian Bill of Rights, it shows you our human rights, they're already recognized. They're inalienable. They come from God, everyone. Hopefully you've heard the occasional person say that. But these politicians, these clowns, everyone, they're so controlled. They're just sellouts, in my opinion, everyone. Most people know it, right? They refuse to talk about the Canadian Bill of Rights. Can you believe it, everyone? They actually pump up and praise the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms. They should be saying we should throw out the Charter. And guess what, everyone? You don't have to believe me. Just look who wrote it. Pierre-Éliott Trudeau, right? Justine Trudeau's father. And Pierre-Éliott Trudeau, he was a communist sympathizer, wasn't he? Because he told you over and over he wanted a strong, centralized government. Yes. And I discussed this in my speeches too, everyone. So it's ridiculous. The Charter, my friends, there's a lot of problems with it. And that's why Pierre-Éliott Trudeau wrote it up. It allows the government, again, to dictate your rights. Because in the Charter, it says, everyone, basically it implies a judge can overrule you. They can overrule your rights on reasonable limits, as it says in the Charter. So if a judge thinks that he or she has a good enough reason to override your rights, they can. And we saw this time and time again during COVID, everyone. As I said in Toronto at beautiful Queen's Park in front of a massive audience, I said there was 7 to 8 churches in Manitoba during COVID, and we know the judge ruled, because the churches were shut down, right, during COVID. It's ridiculous, with all this fear porn. And the judge ruled, well, we know your religious rights and freedoms have been violated or, discriminated against, but you know what? It's justified because we're in a pandemic. See, everyone, these are the loopholes, the problems with the Charter. That's just one of many, everyone, okay? And then we had all kinds of other rulings where they used the Charter and they lost, because they were using the Charter when they were trying to... Anyway, I could go on and on. So I just wanted to make that clear, everyone. The charter is not a good document. It's a communist-friendly document. Look who wrote it. Pierre Elliott Trudeau, and also the UN, by the way, and a bunch of lawyers helped submit the charter. And by the way, we the people, as far as I know, everyone, we didn't have any say in the charter being wrote up or how it was written. But you know what? The Canadian Bill of Rights, people got to debate, everyone, and in Parliament before they actually created the whole Canadian Bill of Rights. And John Diefenbaker, they call him the Diefen Chief, 1962, I believe, he wrote up the amazing Canadian Bill of Rights. Please never forget that, everyone. And we got to put pressure on these clowns. We got to do protests, and let's speak it time and time again on the Canadian Bill of Rights, everyone. These idiots want to repeat to you, get it in your subconscious about the charter. We got to use the Canadian Charter rights and freedoms. No, we don't. And we should throw the whole legislation in the garbage, everyone. And just because the charter is more recent doesn't matter. The Canadian Bill of Rights, it applies to all federal matters. The Canadian Bill of Rights. Pierre Poilievre hasn't told you this, though, my friends. And you're certainly not going to hear it from Jagmeet Singh, are you? I mean, come on. So, again, everyone, the Canadian Bill of Rights, I can't stress it enough. This is the way to go. And any enforcement we know is regulated by the Criminal Code, which is federal. Canadian Bill of Rights, again, applies to all federal matters. The police are all federally regulated. That's what should be coming out of the mouth of Pierre Poilievre and the Conservatives. And you know, he's going on about bail, and you know, he wants to rightly so, I guess, jail, you know, violent criminals, but he's using the charter. He wants to use Section 7 of the charter, everyone, and it's a very dangerous precedent that Poilievre is going to try to set. Okay, everyone, because he can use it in many different ways to override people's rights. We got to be very careful. We got to keep these guys honest, okay? And Jagmeet Singh, he's an absolute clown. I don't call Poilievre a clown, but Jagmeet, you're a clown in my opinion. And we know he kept the Liberals in power all these years, everyone. Can you imagine? This guy's a total liberal government plant, in my opinions. Okay? Let me just turn on one light, everyone. We're just going to play a little bit more of this live stream here, okay? One sec. I'm just going to... And thank you for listening so far, everyone. So this is the English live today, and it was French yesterday. The debate
that come across the border. Now, Mr. Poilievre
in Canada
as well, that it is illegal handguns and illegal weapons that are used in violent crime. So our plan is, let's stop those illegal weapons getting into our country in the first place. And the way we do that is by having stronger border security officers and having more people on the border. Mr. Pierre Poilievre, when he was in power and the Conservatives, they cut the number of border officers. Okay. They reduced the number, weakening our borders. Can't trust them.
Let's get back to Mr. Poilievre on the issue of whether, in using the notwithstanding clause under these circumstances,
oh, the charter again.
A slippery slope and encourage politicians.
The moderator keeps bringing up the notwithstanding clause in the charter.
The charter rights.
Oh, here we go again.
Law-abiding Canadians.
Nonsense.
I'm interested in the rights of victims. Mr. Carney seems to be very interested in the rights of criminals.
Throw the charter in the garbage, Pierre Poilievre. When I meet you, I'm going to challenge you on this, buddy.
Mass murderers stay behind bars for life. You know what's dangerous? Turning them loose on our streets.
There you go.
I don't think you appreciate, sir, the chaos that is unfolding in communities. In Toronto right now, the police have been forced to tell people to just let the thief steal the car. When they break into the house, just take the keys. Just let them take the keys so that you don't get hurt. People are living in terror in many of our communities precisely because of the catch and release bail.
No, most people are not living in terror.
Which requires judges.
That's not true. We got some issues in Canada, but most people are not living in terror. Come on, Pierre. We don't need the fear porn.
Every single member of your Liberal caucus and your Liberal cabinet voted in favor of this bill.
And there is too many car thefts. That Pierre's right on that. But
to the contrary, Mr. Carney, Canadians deserve to live in peace and security. That is the right that I'm fighting for a change.
You know, Pierre's a great speaker, everyone, normally, and but we got to be careful, everyone. And again, please, I will try to link Jane Scarf's in the description here. You can find her on Facebook and YouTube. I'm going to hopefully get this video uploaded on my YouTube, perhaps TikTok as well, but most likely YouTube and Facebook. Again, everyone, someone has told Pierre Poilievre, for whatever reason, to do this agenda using Section 7 of the Charter to override rights. Jane has spoken in length about this. She's done video after video on it, everyone, realizing sort of how dangerous of a move this is. And it's not right. We already have laws in place, everyone, for people, for violent criminals, and the right or not the right, to get bail. I mean, this is all set in stone, everyone, largely. So there's a lot of issues that Jane has with Pierre Poilievre's agenda here, and I understand totally what Jane is saying. So again, everyone, the bottom line is the whole Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms needs to be abolished. They got to stop talking about it, everyone. And we, the people, just have to say this, and let's discuss and use our Canadian Bill of Rights. And by the way, everyone, the Canadian Bill of Rights, it just doesn't apply to provincial law. But guess what? As I said earlier, everyone, Canadian Bill of Rights applies to all federal matters. So why isn't Pierre Poilievre or Carney or Dogmeat Singh or the Quebecer, I forget his name. There's a lot of great people in Quebec. So I apologize, I forget this guy's name. But why aren't they discussing the Canadian Bill of Rights, everyone? And telling you that, again, any enforcement, we know, is regulated by the Criminal Code, which is federal. And again, Canadian Bill of Rights applies to all federal matters. Our cops are all federally regulated. But these idiots sell you out, everybody. These clowns. Again, although Pierre Poilievre, in my opinion, is not a clown. The other ones are clowns, excuse me. But they want to sell you out, everyone. They want you to just think we only got our Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms, and it's this wonderful document that protects our freedoms and our liberties. Horseshit, it's a communist-friendly document, everyone. I just told you earlier. I can't be any more clear. Can I? Anyway, let's just play a few more minutes here, everyone. This debate's going to go on for hours. I'll do another video, hopefully discussing the rest of the debate, okay? Check me out at Jason Truth on YouTube. Hopefully we'll get it uploaded there too.
And I'll use the GTA.
Here's Carney. I describe him as he's a slick car salesman, isn't he? That's all he is. Oh, and a banker. and
particularly if you're part of a gang. Particularly if
you
use a firearm.
Give me a break. You don't know a goddamn thing about gangs, Carney. Please. And by the way, everyone, again, we know he was not elected as Prime Minister of our powerful country, Canada. No, he's selected, right? Because Justin Trudeau finally had to resign, and then he gets to be picked as our Prime Minister right now. And then they want to bring up uncertainty and fear and doubt in the Canadian public, particularly those that don't want the Liberals anymore, because we know they've destroyed small business in Canada largely for 9 years. They've done all kinds of other horrible things to this country. And this idiot is now Prime Minister for the Liberals, trying to get in to be in for Prime Minister for a few more years. It's not going to happen, everyone. Hopefully not. We're going to get the Conservatives in there. But the bottom line is, everyone, we'll talk about this in future videos as well. We need to build an independent coalition movement. And my friend V. Gandhi, he's another amazing activist, everyone. He's working with my good friend Jane Scarf. V. Gandhi, my friend, is running as an independent, everyone. Please vote for him as an MP. I will hopefully put his website in the description of this video when it gets uploaded, okay? Please support him, everyone. That's what we need, so we don't have to vote for these corrupt politicians anymore, because each one of them are corrupt as hell, everyone, in my opinion, and when a lot of us know it. Anyway, I'm going to end this video actually now, everyone. Hopefully you don't mind, but we'll pick it up, hopefully, tomorrow or in a few days, and we'll cover more of this debate. But I wanted to cover some of the lies and corruption going on here, everyone. I get furious when they bring up the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms, because I've done my research on it as well, on these two documents. The Canadian Bill of Rights, though, my friends, it is a miraculous piece of legislation, and you can use it right on the spot, everyone. Even during COVID, you were supposed to get on a train or plane. If you really use your Canadian Bill of Rights, more likely than not, I bet most people would have been able to be successful using the Canadian Bill of Rights, everyone. Even though we know they tried to violate, all legislation during stupid COVID nonsense. But anyway, thank you so much for listening. Thanks for watching, everyone. I am Jason, also known as Jason Truth, and Jason Esty on Facebook. You can follow me there, and I'm on TikTok at Jason Truth Authority over there. Thanks, everyone. God bless. And we are going to make Canada better than ever. It's going to take some time, but we're going to do it, everyone. Okay? And we're going to protect our precious children and give them a bright future. Thanks. Bye.